To be honest, this video of the current mini-series might as well be the COVID-19 pandemic version. If you thought the past two videos of said mini-series were bad, prepare for another mind blow. Anyways, welcome back to another video. If I sound a little bit different, I'm currently suffering from a couple tongue injuries. I bit too hard on it the other day and it wasn't the most pleasant experience ever, I'll say the least. Today I'm going to finish off this mini-series with this video by talking about the least several experiences of being homeless that all took place this and last year. I was 17 and 18 in this time frame. Before we get into this video, please make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to this if you're new to my content, and don't forget to click on the notification bell to be notified whenever I upload. Share this video to anybody that's ever been homeless. Let's play the homeless chronology in 2020 and 2021. The 18th time I was homeless was when I got kicked out over having an argument with my mom over food. Essentially, ever since the coronavirus pandemic first started, my mom started hiding most of the food in her room and we had to ask her for food practically every time we wanted to eat. Once I got tired of eating the same 2 or 3 things, I confronted her about it, and usually confronting her about anything turns into a big unnecessary fuss. I told her I didn't appreciate her way of going about the pandemic and she started yelling at me about how I'm wrong along with a bunch of other bullshit. I then threw a pot on the ground out of anger and she kicked me out and threatened to call the cops on me. I spent the first hour or two walking around town with nowhere to go. At this time, the whole coronavirus pandemic was so fresh, nobody wanted to let anybody inside stores or restaurants without masks, if at all. Of course, I didn't have a mask, so I was literally stuck outside. I had a buddy pick me up to hang out with for the day, but ultimately I just had him drop me off back home just to sleep at a nearby bathroom at the park. I feel like it was mainly because I was just embarrassed about him knowing about my situation then and there, but sleeping in a park bathroom wasn't the most pleasant experience. I guess it was enough to get my anger off. Almost a month later, my mom ransacked my room after I left with a buddy to attend a job interview. She found a bunch of stuff like my cigarette shorts I'd gotten from ashtrays, a bag of tobacco from Swishers, tinfoil used to smoke weed, a lighter, and a switchblade that wasn't even mine. I didn't find out until I came home crossfitted late at night when she was already at work, but I knew she went through my room that time since she had already done it multiple times. I woke up the next morning to realize she went in my room again, this time while I was asleep, to take my phone and the charger that I had borrowed from a friend. I confronted her about it. She told me I wasn't getting none back until I called up a friend and had him pull up all the way from his place to get it back. At that point, my mom just made me leave again for the 19th time. The buddy that came by wasn't able to help me find a place to stay. He didn't even have that much time to hang out. He ended up dropping me off at his stepbrother's house just so I could talk to one of my long-lost friends that just so happened to be neighbors with them. I spent one night at his house. He brought me back, and surprisingly, things would go smoothly for a while forward. The 20th experience came about 5 months later. I got kicked out again. My mom had caught me smoking weed in the house. This was really inconvenient because not only did my phone break about a week prior to this, but the phone another buddy gave to me was a backup. That also broke 5 minutes after I got kicked out trying to attend an interview. The experience in the interview sucked at first too because I was just sitting there talking to the people at McDonald's about working there, thinking that I just went phoneless and that it's going to be rough pulling through with a job if I'm homeless. But I ended up going back late at night while my mom was at work and somehow things were smooth again. About a couple and a half months later, I got kicked out for literally spending a night at a buddy's house without permission, making me homeless for the 21st time. It was pretty pathetic considering that I was already 18, but I guess I still have to abide by the rules of my dwelling. Luckily, I was already at the place, but once again, I couldn't stay there longer than the morning passed because they had to go to work and they didn't want me there by myself. When I came back, I noticed that my stepdad locked the door. I was knocking on the door for about 15 minutes, but nobody answered. My mom was working overtime at work and my brother was at school, which would leave my stepdad purposely leaving me outside, or so I thought. It was 15 degrees outside and I was already freezing my ass off. I hopped over the fence to sneak inside and tried to slide my window open, but I accidentally pressed too hard and broke through. I didn't know if my stepdad wasn't home or if he was in his deep sleep, but usually he was the type to be very alert and pop up on my shit to be nosy, but this time that didn't happen. It also took me a solid 10 minutes and a shit in a toilet for me to realize I sliced open my finger, almost fucking up my artery. There was an entire blood trail from my bedroom to the bathroom leading up to my right hand middle finger. It hurt a lot when my hand warmed up. Luckily, I didn't get kicked out again. My mom ended up just replacing the window and added that to one of many reasons to threaten to kick me out in the future. The 22nd time I was homeless, I got kicked out once again. My mom would catch me smoking in the house for the second time. It was the middle of the night already, just before the last time I mentioned that I was slick about being homeless. I had just started consistently and heavily using weed, but this time I started sipping lean a lot. It wasn't the first time that I've done the drug, but I definitely do feel like it's the most I've used said drug in such a short amount of time, and I also feel like this contributed to me not wanting to care about my living situation anymore, as opposed to me just dealing with domestic issues for so long. Luckily for this night, I was able to stay up and walk around town for a few hours until I was able to go into work, walk around for a few more hours until I was able to come back and have my phone taken from me by my stepdad. It wasn't really any type of an agreed punishment either. He kind of just stole my phone and threatened to break it again. He said the same thing the first time after I got arrested back in 2019. The walking was excessive though, and considering the Minnesota weather, it was dark and cold for the most of it. The 23rd and 24th times that I was homeless are pretty much related. The only reason why I consider it as two different occasions is because I was able to stay at home for 14 hours in between. But for 23, I was scammed out of $600 trying to buy a car off of eBay just before my mom threatened to kick me out for the last time for not giving her money for any bills. I actually ran away at first and stayed at another buddy's crib for 3 days. The first night, me and that same buddy actually got stopped by a cop for walking in the middle of the street at 2 in the morning. Of course, the location of the stop was in the same city I grew up in, with all the cops being all up in my case with the family and whatnot. He knew exactly who I was and questioned me about my living situation. I didn't think much of it at the time since I was high as shit and I had been on a roll being high, but I looked right back to that moment when I was sitting in the holding cell right in the beginning of my stay in the county jail. Those moments were only 12 days apart. The cop let us go with a warning and we pretty much went off to keep making moves to smoke. I continued to stay with the friend I was with off jump. For the 24th time, I finally came back to my parents after the friend I was staying with told me that his dad was going to come back home from out of town in March, and I guess he wasn't cool with any of his friends staying over like that. My mom actually woke me up in the middle of the night to catch me smoking in my room again for the third time and kicked me out for what I actually thought was the last time, but it actually wasn't. However, I was gone for another 4 days. It was about 3:30 in the morning when I got kicked out. I stopped at the train station, ran into a stranger who was also homeless, and he actually bummed me a cigarette. Then I walked all the way to a buddy's who I was barely able to get a hold of. He was falling in and out of his conscience to help a nigga out and have me sleep in the recreational room in his apartment. Considering there was a sign that no one was allowed in said room due to the coronavirus, you would think nobody would ever really just walk in there out of nowhere. So I got there at around 5 in the morning. I was able to get about 3 hours of sleep on a couch until one of the apartment managers walked in on me and told me to meet her in the office as she had already called the police. The department was only about 7 or 8 blocks away. Luckily, she went back to the office shortly after the warning. I'm sure she was waiting to direct a cop and get me banned from the apartment and possibly arrested. Literally seconds after she left, I got together all of my shit and made a run for it. I'm so lucky she never got my name and that I was able to escape, hide out for about an hour, and almost perfectly time a free city bus ride to the neighborhood to a friend's house. I could chill out for the day. It's funny too because there was another occasion where I ended up running from the police the same day, loitering with some friends. I'll actually make a separate story video for this so I can take the time to specifically break down everything that happened that day, but I was able to stay at the same friend's house as I did the last time until I flipped out on him because I thought he took my dab card and was lying to me about it, when in reality I found it in my jacket pocket after I already slammed the door on him and was walking away on my phone looking for another place to stay in negative 10-degree weather. What a reality check. I went into another place that was farther out of town for one night, but he ended up bringing me back to town where I would loiter in the same area. I had to run from the police twice, and one day, just 4 days later, coincidentally, my mom would contact me again and tell me to come back home. She was probably trying to convince me to give her money still, but me taking my chances at the time, I went for not being homeless. Now, this was the last time that I've ever been kicked out, or been homeless, I mean. It honestly surprises me that it's been almost a year since this all happened, but basically my stepdad confronted me about money and eating food. After that whole argument, along with me mentioning him in a phone, he overheard, he overreacted, he beat me up, called the cops, and had me framed in the house for the second time. I was homeless for 16 days. I didn't get out of jail until the 4th day. I spent that night at a friend's house, but I ended up having to leave in the morning since he had to go to work and didn't want me at his place by myself. I think I spent about a week and a half at my ex-girlfriend's place. I was pretty much much trapped in their living room while being threatened to get kicked out of there as well. I'm pretty sure I got the coronavirus and infected the family too towards the end of my stay there. The last couple of days, I spent those nights at the same place I spent the day I got out of jail. The night before me and my roommate moved in, he came to pick me up and bring me with him to his parents. He had already gotten a bunch of stuff sitting around the house since he was already planning on moving up here the morning after. Eventually, the next day came and some friends that were closer to my roommate came by to assist us moving everything. It took us like 5 or 6 hours, but as far as being homeless, this mission definitely paid off, at least for a while. It was the last time that I was ever homeless for 2021, unless the off chance of me losing everything occurs before New Year's. This should conclude all of the times I've been homeless in 2020 and 2021. In these 2 years total, I've spent 29 nights being homeless with not having a place to stay for 4 of these nights. I slept in a bathroom at a park and stayed up overnight until I came back home 3 times. In total, out of all the homelessness experiences, I've spent 98 nights being homeless with not having a place to stay for 11 of those nights. I slept under a bridge, in a dugout by my high school, in 3 cars. One of the cars on 3 separate occasions was someone who used to be real close to me but betrayed me in the end. And of course, sleeping in a park bathroom and staying up for 3 days. As I'm recording this video, today is December 13th, 2021. My 20th birthday is in about 5 months. It's been over 9 months since I've been homeless, and it's been almost a year since I didn't have a place to stay while being homeless. I'm really grateful to be out of my parents' house, but being an adult, moving out on your own with little to no knowledge after coming from a seemingly never-ending domestic violence nightmare comes with a lot of fucking problems. I just got my fingers crossed, man. That should complete this video and the entire mini-series of my homelessness experience for today. Once again, if you like this video, please give this video a like, subscribe if you're new to my content, and don't forget to click on the notification bell to be notified whenever I upload. Follow me on all of my social media. The links will be in the description below. Share this video to anybody that's ever been homeless, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace out. Sauce.